Hi there. So in this video, we're going to talk about two properties, float and clear. So as you can see, there are three values that float can have. It's going to be left, right, or none. And then the clear property has four values, both left, right, and none. So in this video, we're going to discuss two of these properties and let's get to it. All right, so let's create a div and we're going to make it orange. So to do that in CSS, we're going to write background color orange, height 200 pixels, and width 20%. So now as you see, we got this orange block on our screen. So let's also add a paragraph, and for that we're going to write a p tag with some text in it. And as you can see, now we have the paragraph right below our orange block. And what if we add another paragraph? Well, then that paragraph is just going to go underneath the previous one. So as you can see, no matter what we add, the elements are always going to go one beneath the other. So from top to bottom. And this is the way it works in HTML and CSS by default. And this is called the normal flow, by the way. Basically, the normal flow is when the elements go one beneath the other and not next to each other. They just stack from top to bottom. But is it possible to change this normal flow and make it so that, for example, the text doesn't go underneath the block, but say next to it, to the side of it? Well, yeah, for sure, it's definitely possible. And for that, we're going to need a property called float. So we're going to add float right, for example, to our div. So let's see how the elements get placed on the screen this time. So as you can see, the orange block is in the right corner and the text is kind of wrapped around it to the left. And by the way, the name of this property, the float property, is pretty self-explanatory if you think about it. So basically, it's saying that the block that we applied the float to is floating out of the text to the right. As you could have like a block of wood, say, float to the top out of water. So in this case, it's kind of doing the same, but the block is floating out from the elements, but to the right side because we specified right. What if we say float left instead of float right? Well, in that case, our block is going to be attached to the left corner and the text is going to wrap around to the right side of it. All right, good. So we added float and now our elements wrap around the block. But what if we don't want our last paragraph to wrap around the block? Say we just wanted to have the normal flow and go right underneath the block. So how do we do that? Well, for that, we're going to need to use the clear property. First of all, let's get the last paragraph class. We're just going to call it clear. And then in CSS, referring to this class, we're going to write clear both. So this time, it's just placed underneath the orange block. So in other words, the last element is basically saying, I don't want to be involved in this whole float thing. I'm just going to be according to the normal flow. So that's why it gets placed underneath the orange block. You can imagine that we cleared the last element from getting involved in the float thing on both sides. So it's not going to wrap around either to the left or the right of the block. The block with the float is not going to have any effect on this element. That's basically what we're saying. So by the way, everything that goes after our paragraph, after this last one, it's also going to be according to the normal flow. All right, we're not going to discuss clear right and clear left in this lesson because at this point it's not too important. All right, so now let's see how these properties that we just learned work in practice, or see how they work with some real examples in the text editor. So here we have the HTML page and the CSS that's connected to this page. So let's find some picture. We can find a picture on pixabay.com, for example. Let's just use this one. And we're going to copy its URL and create an image tag in HTML. And for the source, we're going to write the path to this picture. So as you can see, now we have this picture on our page, right? So let's set the width for this image, let's say 50%. Okay, done. So now we need to add some text and put it inside a p tag. So here's our text, which is placed underneath the picture. And now if we want this text to wrap around the picture to the right of it, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to write float left for the image tag. So let's see what happens. So as you can see, And now, as you see, the text is placed to the right side of the image, and the picture itself, it's on the left side. So basically, the image floats out of the text to the left because we specified float left for it. So once again, if we want the text to wrap around from the picture to the right, then we're going to set float left for the picture because it's the picture that floats out from the elements. All right, so let's create another p tag with the dummy text lorem ipsum. And here it also goes underneath this text. So let's make it so that this paragraph is going to be placed not under this one, but under the picture itself. So what do we need to do to achieve that? So for that, we're going to, for the second paragraph, we're going to give it a class, call it clear, for example. And then in CSS, we're going to refer to this class and we're going to write clear both. And now our second paragraph is placed underneath the picture according to the normal flow. And if we create another p tag after it, it's also going to be according to the normal flow. It's not going to wrap around the picture. All right, so let me point this out once more. If you want an element to wrap around the other element, go to the side of it, for example, then you set float for that last element because it's the last element that floats out from the other elements, right? So in our case, it's the picture. And if we want certain elements not to be involved in the floating of the picture, for example, then we just set the property clear both for this element, and it's just going to be according to the normal flow. All right, that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next lesson.